Welcome, guys. Thank you for watching. You're listening to the Leadoff, heard here every Saturday morning on the Peak One Sports Network. I'm Ashton.
I'm Tony. Let's get started. Let's jump right into the sports this morning. Busy weekend again, just as always.
We're going to jump into the NBA playoffs as we get y'all ready for y'all sports weekend. It's kind of weird. There's no NBA games today. It's just how everything has landed. In fact, we only have one series left.
Well, as of yesterday, we had the possibility of 3 Game 7s that would have been played, I guess, between Sunday and then they probably would have flexed one into Monday. But as it happened, we don't. So we get, we're gonna get Lakers.
Lakers and Nuggets.
Late last night took down the Warriors. We get them and the Nuggets start on Tuesday, and the Heat knock off the Knicks in a crazy game. We'll get into a little bit more, about how that clock management, time management with the Knicks and Jalen Brunson. But they await the Game 7 winner on Sunday between the Celtics and Sixers.
Yes, like you said, we're going to get into those games. Make sure you're watching us live right here on YouTube. Go ahead, click subscribe, like the video. If you're listening to us on your podcast platform, go ahead and follow us. Like we mentioned, the Lakers did win last night. They beat the champs 122-101 in Game 6. The Warriors are now eliminated. The Lakers will go on to face the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. LeBron has now won 41 series in the playoffs, the most all time.
That's wild to think, and I don't think this is his last one. I think he's going to continue to break records. Quite honestly, he's probably going to end up, when he ends his career, he's going to be the longest tenured player. And just because he's going to be able to play for so long, such a long duration, he's going to have all types of
him or
stats.
not, padding team or building super teams, whatever you want. He puts himself in a position to win, and he recognizes when he has it and when he does it. I mean, there's just a game the other night where he didn't take a shot in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Because he tries to get the other guys right. He knows I can get into the game and get rolling when I need to. Let's work on getting everybody else. And he recognizes he can't carry this team by himself.
In the Memphis series and in this series as well, I mean, just like Memphis found out, poke the bear, he's gonna come alive. LeBron has a switch that he can flip on and off, and when it's time, when it comes to it, and he, obviously in order to win, he's got to have some supporting cast. But when he needs to flip the switch, he can flip the switch and take over a game.
38 years old. It's remarkable what he's doing. But like I say, he knows what he needs. He knows he can't carry the team anymore like he used to, that he needs all the help he can get.
There's just like we talked about last week as well, but he's going into a series against a very solid Nuggets team. This team is not going to roll over and down. And you saw it in the Sun series. Yeah, they dropped a couple games, but they are a solid team. Nothing flashy, nothing boisterous about them. You just don't. For a casual NBA fan, they probably just don't know a lot about this Nuggets team.
Jokic, obviously, I think he has a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Not winning the MVP. He averaged a 30-point triple-double in that series, which is ridiculous, especially against the Suns.
Yeah.
We also had the Heat beating the Knicks in Game 6, 96-92. Jalen Brunson scores 41 points in the loss, the most points in a playoff game by a Knicks guard in franchise history. You had mentioned clock management with Jalen Brunson and the Knicks. He was benched. I'm going to say bad. He was pulled out of the game in the fourth quarter. I think it was the fourth quarter. For the first time since Game 3. He's played all 48 minutes these last few games. And in that time,
he was up by 4.
I don't remember exactly what the score was, but they pulled him off for about 2.5 minutes, and the Heat went on a 7-0 run. The Knicks didn't even make a shot. Then he comes back in. They end up losing 96-92. And Jalen Brunson seems, I know he kind of made his real superstar debut in the playoffs last year with the Mavericks against the Jazz while Luka was out.
Yeah.
continued to play well through the playoffs, but he might be a bona fide superstar.
But yeah,
He's getting paid like one. We'll see.
and especially for that Knicks team that, is a young team. They've been rebuilding that team the past couple of years, and for him to come in, I don't know that anyone expected that team to make a run like they did in the playoffs, or quite honestly, even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think he was definitely the missing piece that they needed for that young team, and to be able to take over games like he can. But now you look back at, did they mismanage his time? If you needed him to play 48 minutes, last night's game was the game you needed him to play 48 minutes.
Yeah.
So you come into a elimination situation, and you can't have your superstar on the court and potentially put you in a situation where your season was gone. It was over.
You got to leave it all out in the court.
Maybe his minutes should have been looked at a little more closely. I don't know. I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs of why they had him playing so many 48-minute games. That's pretty unheard of in today's game. So, and I don't know.
Clearly, we talked about the Knicks trying to rebuild, not for lack of trying, getting Carmelo Anthony in there, trying to go after KD, trying to go after LeBron every other offseason. But it seems like they've got something that works. Maybe we're not done in the era of the super teams, but maybe the super teams in their prime. Maybe it's you're figuring out who the superstars are going to be and getting them before they cost a ton of money. Because I thought the Jalen Brunson signing, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
At $27 million a year. Or, I mean, it's like, yeah, he's a good role player, but it seems to be a lot better.
I think what you can kind of see now is you just need a really dominant big. I think the bigs are making a bigger impact now.
Yeah, for sure.
In these teams, and that's where the missing pieces tend to become, back in for a lot of years, but what I can remember back in the earlier 2000s is when the big man was very important, a big man and a point. And that's kind of what we see now is you don't need that three-headed monster necessarily in these three guards to come in big guards. Is you need that big man that can play some defense.
Yeah. And the Heat are waiting for the winner of the Sixers-Celtics Game 7. Tomorrow it's at 2:30 Central Time. That's potential Eastern Conference matchup. Who do you like out of that series, and who's the best matchup for the Heat?
The Sixers-Celtics, we talked about it for several weeks, and we've had tons of conversations about this series. I mean, this is what I think could be one of the better matchup series in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame that these two teams were matching up at this point. I would rather see this be the Eastern Conference final game. Man, that's a tough one.
I think the Heat do better against the Sixers.
Yeah, I think I like the Celtics in this Game 7. I think the Celtics pull this one out, and I think that gives us a great matchup.
I thought the Celtics would win Game 6. The Sixers kept it alive.
Yeah.
But now with the momentum, it's really anybody's game. But I have the Celtics winning, and I think they'd be favorites against the Heat. I know the Heat are doing so great right now, but the Heat, I think their run comes to an end in the Eastern Conference Finals in Boston.
Yeah.
Jumping over.
Do we want to go ahead and make some predictions for the finals while we're this close?
Let's wait till next week when we have the conference finals matchups.
I've got
just so we don't pick a team that might still be playing and then just look like total morons. We'll do that. We'll do that the conference finals special next week, and we'll pick who goes to the finals. We have the NHL playoffs. The Florida Panthers beat Toronto in overtime of Game 5 to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals to face the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, what's interesting about this, this is only the third time in sports history that two teams from the same metropolitan area, the Miami Heat and the Florida Panthers, make it to the conference finals in the same year. This is the first time ever that both of them clinched the conference finals on the same night.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting series.
How excited was the city of Miami?
I remember last year when we had Mavericks Game 7 in the second round and Stars Game 7 in the first round, and that was interesting enough. But to imagine potentially make Eastern Conference Finals
Yeah.
the same night. That's just ridiculous for that area. Like I said, they play Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals, and nobody's clinched their spot in the Western Conference Finals yet. Still 2 series going on. Last night, the Vegas Golden Knights beat Edmonton 4-3 in Game 5. They have a 3-2 lead in the series. Game 6 is tomorrow. Vegas looks to close out that series, and the Stars crack in Game 6 tonight. The Dallas Stars looking to make the Western Conference Finals for the first time since 2020, the bubble year when they made it to the NHL Finals and lost to Tampa.
Yeah, and they're leading that series 3-2 as well.
Yeah, the Kraken have been hanging around. They've been a big surprise here. Not necessarily making the playoffs. I guess that was kind of a surprise of just in their second year in existence.
Yeah.
Although Vegas had made it to the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year. Wouldn't that be an interesting matchup in the Western Conference Finals? Vegas and Seattle, the two newest teams.
Expansion teams coming in, yeah.
But Kraken hanging around, and I know I expect the Stars to win this game the same way because it's kind of taking the same path as the Stars and Wild.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes back and forth, and then the Wild just kind of lay down. I don't expect the Kraken to do that.
Do we think the Stars are the best team in the West? I tend to think that they probably are.
Yeah, I thought Colorado might have been there, but the Kraken took out Colorado.
Yeah.
Honestly, Carolina's having a great run. But outside of that, I think the Stars might be the best team left now that Boston has been eliminated.
Yeah.
But that Kraken team, you can't sleep on them.
Yeah.
I expect the Stars to win, but you never know. Could be a Game 7. I would expect on Tuesday, but we'll see how that works out. And tonight, the XFL Championship. First time since 2000 that they've had the championship game. I know the 2020 season kind of derailed the first season. They took a couple of years off. But they finally got it here in San Antonio. Well, not here in San Antonio. They finally got it now in San Antonio. Arlington Renegades versus the DC Defenders. Bob Stoops, head coach Arlington Renegades, leading them to a championship appearance.
Yeah. And that game will be played at the Alamo Dome. And that's tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
So 7 Central Time, San Antonio time. Man, it's hard. You know, the XFL is a little different than the NFL, where you know all the players in depth and you know these teams at such a level to know what the matchups look like. It's a little different, as new and young as the XFL is, and the way the structure of the XFL is we've already seen so many of the eliminated teams. The players have already had invites extended to them by NFL teams.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, obviously the team's still playing. They haven't yet. But to even know if any of these players are even on these rosters next year or year after year, and being the first full season we've seen of the XFL, like you said, it makes it a tough choice here. I mean, do we know who's favored in this game? The odds?
I don't have the money line or anything like that. I do know Houston was favored to win it all here earlier this year. They seem pretty dominant.
For me, watching
Arlington
this
barely
season,
made the playoffs.
Yeah, but to watch this season and see how dominant, and really the 2 seasons what we have seen of that Houston Roughnecks team, they were dominant. They hadn't lost a game, and I mean, it was in 2020 they didn't lose a game before the season, and then they started the season, you know, with a big undefeated streak.
Yeah.
So for the Renegades to find a way to knock them off as being such a dominant team, I kind of like the Renegades in this game, and what they've had 2 weeks off now to get guys healthy, to prepare. I think I like the Renegades in this game with the limited information that we truly have about these teams.
Yeah. USFL is going on too. I tend to forget about those. XFL, USFL kind of merge when I just see the teams on there. Like, wait, are those XFL teams or USFL teams? But Houston bringing it, I think their teams are typically better than not better than the Houston Texans, but better in the league than the Texans. No, let's not do that. No, I'm not one of those people that say, hey, Alabama or the best college team would beat the worst worst football team. They did that a couple of times in, I want to say it was the 60s or 70s. They had NFL All-Stars versus the college All-Stars, and it wasn't even close. Like,
Yeah.
you think Alabama would probably be the closest because, or maybe Georgia now.
Yeah, I would say
have the
Georgia.
Philadelphia Bulldogs now, but they have a lot of players that are going to end up in the NFL. But most of the time, you're looking at every player on an NFL team was a really good college player.
Yeah, well, and you look at what the NFL guys now. I mean, I know in college these guys work out and they lift and they get big and strong, but they still have to go to class.
Yeah.
In the NFL, all you do is lift
Yeah.
and train. Like, there's a huge difference in what you see. I mean, you see these guys transform from what we just saw these players drafted. The way the physique that they had, even as wild as that is nowadays, that's going to drastically change when they get them a couple seasons into the NFL. Their physique's going to change. They're going to train at a different level, even than they were in college.
Speaking of the NFL, we had the NFL schedule release this week. A few surprises on here. I know to kick off the season, you have the Chiefs raising their banner against the Detroit Lions. Now, a couple of years ago, obviously the Lions have gotten a lot better than they had. Didn't even make the playoffs last year, but a lot of people have the Lions.
Well, they had a good
making a run in the playoffs this year.
Well, they had a good run towards the end of the season. They played some meaningful football. You thought that, and I think they were pushing themselves to try to sneak in to the playoffs at the end. They're picked to be a playoff team this year.
First Monday Night Football game of the year, Bills Jets.
The first official debut of
Aaron
Rodgers and the new look Jets. I mean, they've made a ton of moves. I mean, the New York Packers.
Yeah, I think these are clearly going to be the two favorites coming out of the AFC East.
Yeah.
Kicking off, we have a first Black Friday game. I don't know if it's specific to try to tie it in with Black Friday or not.
I think it's just to slate out
I don't
more
know the
games
last
that
time.
week.
I don't know the last time they played on a Friday.
Yeah,
NFL played on.
just in general.
They just keep
this is the
creeping in.
first
There's going to be a
time-
time they're going to play outside of
7
2020
days.
when they had Wednesdays and Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But
they're gonna play 7 days a week.
they're gonna have to. I mean, that. A side note, YouTube TV's coming out. They now have the NFL package.
Well, and that's where this game will be aired. This Black Friday game will be on Prime TV. It'll be on Amazon.
But the money you have to pay to get those out of market games, the Sunday ticket or what,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what YouTube calls it.
Yeah.
It's getting less and less valuable now when you're spreading it out.
Absolutely.
You don't get your normal noon game, 3 o'clock game, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday. That was your normal 5 games that you would get.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're getting random Black Friday games. Obviously
You're gonna get all the
Thanksgiving
games. You'll get all the games on
It's
Thanksgiving.
getting less and less valuable because that's more games you're getting.
So we get 3
already.
games on Thanksgiving. which
Hold on, Dolphins
has
Jets
become-
Black Friday, by the way.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, we're gonna get the 3. Obviously, you get the Lions on as the first
Lions
the first
Packers,
game. The
which
12:30
I like
game.
that matchup. I always think it should be Packers Lions.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of the time the Packers will play, as in most of the time the Commanders play or Washington plays the Cowboys.
Yeah, and then that 4:30 Eastern game, you get Commanders at Cowboys. That's always been, in the past, Redskins Cowboys were always great Thanksgiving Day games to watch, and I think that I don't know exactly what the stat line is with the wins losses, but I know it felt like a back and forth. Every time they matched up, it was a toss
game.
up.
They're very
Thanksgiving's
few times that
not
it's
just
a
a
blowout.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving's not just a
Outside of
giveaway
last
game.
year.
And then the evening nightcap for Thanksgiving is 49ers at Seahawks. Another good matchup. I think really
Couple of
they've
teams
slated
that don't
all
really have
these-
a quarterback.
Yeah, but I think they've slated pretty well for the Thanksgiving Day. I mean, quite honestly, that whole weekend, with all these division matchups, I think
Interesting.
it makes it a lot of fun. It makes a Thanksgiving game very meaningful when we talk about the Lions and wanting to find a way into the playoffs.
Yeah.
We've got the Commanders and Cowboys in what I say the toughest division in the NFL, in the NFC East. I mean, let's just talk about that for a second with the Eagles topping that. Cowboys, came in second last year. And then you've got Commanders and Giants. All these teams finished over 500 last season.
NFC East was the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Eagles, Giants.
So that's great. Like, it makes that very meaningful
Eagles
football.
beat the Giants first. The Niners made the championship game.
This matchup between these teams, everything's on the line here. I mean,
Yeah.
this can make or break your season on Thanksgiving Day. And then the same, with the Niners and Seahawks. Can the Niners come back not knowing their quarterback situation and make another huge run to get in the playoffs and maybe even the NFC Championship game again?
Odd there's no AFC teams in there. I know that it doesn't necessarily matter, but I always thought that Thanksgiving night game they started rolling out there when they put the third game in there.
Maybe that's why they're
Usually
doing
an
this AFC
game.
Black Friday matchup.
Yeah, and then you have a triple header on Christmas Day as well.
We do, and that's where you get a few of these NFC teams in there. Raiders at Chiefs, yeah, another division game, but
It's lost some luster in the last few years.
yeah, but then here's another one. NFC East, we got Giants at Eagles. That's gonna have huge implications possibly, with depending on how this shakes up and this late in the season into Christmas is, there could be playoff implications in this game.
Yeah.
And then you got the Ravens at 49ers for that nightcap on Christmas. So our holidays are going to be absolutely covered this year with NFL games. There's going to be when you're sitting around with your family and you're sick of talking to your family, you're going to have plenty to watch.
3 games Thanksgiving, 4th game when you add Black Friday, and then 3 games on Christmas. It's definitely NFL's taking over every other day of the week.
Is there any other notable games that that stand out to you? So let's the Eagles, obviously they're coming in.
Yeah.
They're going to have the toughest schedule on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Take that for what you will. These aren't the exact same teams that they were last year. You've got the Falcons coming in with possibly the easiest schedule, and that probably bodes well for them in the NFC South. I think that division's absolutely up for grabs. I just don't know that. You could have a rookie leading the Carolina Panthers, to an NFC South division.
Yeah, easily. Well, maybe not easily, but they might be favored in that.
I think so. Or possibly even with the Falcons. I think they have a really good shot. I'd love to see Bijan Robinson when he gets on the field. I think that NFC South, as atrocious as it's been in the past to watch, I think could be fun to watch this year just because it is up for grabs.
Mm-hmm.
And for these teams, every matchup's going to mean something to them because it is up for grabs because they have such a possibility.
I like to watch the AFC South. You have Colts with a new quarterback, the Texans with a new quarterback, Jags obviously with Trevor Lawrence. There's been, that's what you get when you have a bad division. You have a lot of young talent.
Yeah.
The high draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the Titans. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. They got their quarterback as well. You have a lot of young talent in that division.
Young quarterbacks. It'll be a lot of fun to watch that division. And I think at week 1, don't we get we do. We get Jaguars Colts. So we're going to get to see Anthony Richardson face off against Trevor Lawrence. So that could be a fun matchup. I think the future of the AFC South is going to be a lot of fun to watch in the next handful of years to see these young quarterbacks. And I hope that they all do develop and they all stick around and they're not bust. And in 2 years, they're bringing in somebody else. And I would love to see that division build and have that good competition with these young quarterbacks. And quite honestly, they haven't, outside of maybe the Colts and Texans, the Jaguars and Titans have been coming into their own the past few years, building these teams. I think that quarterback was the missing piece for sure the Titans of good quarterback play, and the Texans possibly as well. They tend to have good defenses. So that quarterback missing, and then the Colts, we'll see. I don't know. They may still be missing too many pieces to really be competitive in this division this year, but the future looks bright for the AFC South.
Big QB stars coming out of college more often than not, I think, doesn't usually pan out. I don't have the stats in front of me. But if you just look at, including Trevor Lawrence in this, obviously a young QB only, I think, in his third year, the stature of QBs in their college days is definitely the AFC South leads.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest potential to be a QB juggernaut here in a few years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go to betalytics.com to place your smart bets today. The Betalytics dashboard allows you to quickly identify the top graded best bets and hottest trends. You can see our Saturday prop bet coming up here later today. Go to betalytics.com to start betting smarter today.
Great. Well, let's jump right into the thread, I guess. Today we're running through it fast. We've got it all, huh?
That's okay. We can get real specific on some of these uniforms, especially if you're listening on a podcast platform. We can do a good job.
So let's go ahead and key up the first one. These are all brought to you by Apogee Graphics.
Our MLB uniform standings.
And where are we at now? I gotta pull this up.
21. We're getting into the top 20. We're at number 21 right now. There's my sleeveless jerseys coming back.
There it is again.
The Rockies, usually I'm not a big fan when you pretty much ignore your main color scheme, purple.
Yeah.
I think really all they have right there is the outline on the CR. But it's different. It's obviously the sleeveless jerseys, white with black. I think that's great. You have the CR.
Black pinstripes on the white.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the CR, which is something, it gets overused in baseball a lot where you have the numbers merge. But when you don't use it pretty much ever, that's never been their main scheme. Even that year, that was exclusively for that uniform. I like it. It's a gray. It's hard to see right there, but it's a gray CR or silver. Outlined in purple.
Yeah.
I think those...
I like that. And
Rockies don't have a lot of... I mean, they're new. They haven't really been bold with their uniforms. They have a couple with purple that say the Rockies, but I think these are nice and simple.
They also have the City Connects that they do with the dark green and the mountain scene, which I thought were pretty cool. They did a pretty good job with those as well. That's a solid pick. And I went pinstripes again. I have a lot of pinstripes on my list, but I mean the Twins. When I say Minnesota Twins, I think that's probably what you picture: the white with the navy pinstripes, the Twins script with the tail in red, the navy hat with the red, script M on it. I mean that's Minnesota Twins. I mean I know they had some uniform changes this season and kind of revamped some of this stuff, but. Man, that right there to me is when you say Minnesota Twins, that's what I
and I haven't seen many games this year, but with the Twins, but I assume they're still going back to that.
Very similar to this, very similar look to this.
It's hard to, I've said I'm not a huge fan of pinstripes unless it's the right uniforms. I don't think Colorado Rockies and think pinstripes necessarily.
Yeah.
Obviously the Yankees you do, the Cubs you do, even the Mets, even though they're relatively a newer team. But the Twins, I definitely think, even though they're not the most iconic, Minnesota's not a big baseball town. They're just a relocated team. But I agree. I mean, you look at that, I think Kirby Puckett.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jumping next, we have number 20. Getting into the top 20 now. There are my Royals uniforms. A little different from their normal powder blue jerseys because usually it's the opposite. They have the white with the blue outline.
Yeah.
But this is one of them that works where you have two different color blues.
Yeah.
That actually mesh well together, and with the white pants. Of course, they wear their powder blues.
You don't see that as much when they go powder blues. They typically go the powder blue pants as well.
Well, the Royals go powder blue more often than not. It's one of their normal jerseys. It's not a special thing. So they'll wear the white pants with the powder blue jerseys, and then just the regular blue hat. It's not all powder blue. It's just the jersey.
Yeah. You can see I picked the Mariners, the teal jersey. I always liked this one when I grew up as a fan of King Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
And seeing him wear this uniform, I mean, I love this color in the Mariners. Outside of this, when they had the blue and yellow colors in the mix, like those were kind of cool. But for me, other than this, the Mariners uniform collection is actually pretty boring for me. So I like this teal color here.
I think, and you'll probably see a lot more of it later on in like our top 10 picks, is more iconic teams. And I think you can see it in both of our lists a lot of times that we have a player we picture when we pick these uniforms. And you'll see whenever we get to my Mariners, I don't even know where my Mariners pick is, but it's the same concept. I think the picture is Ken Griffey Jr., honestly. But that's who I picture as well when I see that uniform.
Yeah. Now let's hit 19 here.
Just rolling right through. There's my Red Sox. Same as yours, I believe.
Yeah.
The red jerseys, even different hats. Or a lot of teams will just switch out their jerseys, keep the same hats constantly. I like a difference, a uniqueness in the hats. Red Sox, I'm always a big fan of, just like I mentioned before, just going opposite of your normal color. Like the exact same uniforms, just different colors.
Yeah.
And you just switch out the red, the blue, and the white, just alternate them a little bit. Typically they wear these in day games. As you see that picture, it's more of a day game. The Red Sox are obviously one of those teams like the Yankees that aren't going to differentiate a lot from their normal uniforms.
No, but it is nice when they bring these out. I think we mentioned this about some other teams, but when you just get that especially this color red, this bright red that comes out, especially in like a night game, man, that just pops and would look really good under the lights. My pick here, Oakland A's. The difference about this one is Oakland runs with two different green tops and hats. This is the lighter green, the more Kelly green. They have the darker green that they use. For me, I like this Kelly green more. I wish that they would make this their every day and implement this colorway into all of their script and everything on all uniforms. This lighter green, and only go with this lighter green hat with the A's logo in white. This is just the little trims of yellow. You can see even on the sleeve a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's a little bit more kind of that older style striping that's around the sleeve. Looks really good. These are really crisp, clean. Too bad they couldn't put better teams on the field to sport these, because these are
take a good look. It's gonna say Las Vegas, or maybe just Vegas.
I would be really cool with that if they would keep this color and keep that styling. Just change it to the Vegas Athletics. Man, I think that would be killer for them. That's what I would do. If they're asking my opinion, that's what I would do.
One of have you seen Moneyball?
Yeah.
They don't care about anybody's opinion. The A's are one of the more iconic franchises, which is hard to believe being such a low budget.
Yeah.
You say small market or whatever, but if the owner has money, the team
just
isn't
don't put
poor.
the money into the team,
or the stadium or anything. But as you can see, they're probably they're gonna get a ridiculously expensive stadium in Vegas.
Yeah.
But you see these uniforms. I don't know how long they've been, or how many alterations they have of them, but they have their green uniforms or yellow uniforms. But you see Mark McGwire in these jerseys.
Yeah. Jose Canseco.
Even man, no, he's more yellow. I can't even think of his name. But yeah, you see a lot of iconic players wearing these uniforms. See, the A's have been blessed to draft a lot of players and get a lot of players early on, even before Moneyball. Reggie Jackson, that's who I was thinking. That's, I guess he. I mean, they wore green a lot of time when they won World Series in Oakland back in the days.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Ricky Henderson.
Ricky Henderson as well.
Yeah.
A lot of iconic athletics playing in these uniforms.
Yeah.
If you're new to this show, this is the first time you watched it, what we're doing right now, in our segment called The Thread, we're having a 10-part series counting down. We're picking, me and Tony individually are picking our best uniforms that we think each team has rolled out, and then we're basically just ranking them, and these are where our rankings are. Go back to our previous videos on YouTube, and you can see picks 30 all the way up to where we're at right now, 19, moving into the top 20. We can jump and look real quick. We have a little bit of time. We can talk about Major League Baseball, the standings right now.
Yeah.
Because I think we were talking about, in the past, we talked the Pirates and how surprising they are. And they are in an absolute tailspin right now. They had lost 8 straight early on before finally breaking that streak, but they have finally been knocked out of first place in that division. Because right now they are in second behind the Milwaukee Brewers. Well, let's just start at the top. I mean, we have Tampa still just running away with the AL East.
Yeah. Yeah, unless something catastrophic happens, with an injury or something, this team may just run away with it. Already with 30 wins.
That's a really good division. I mean, look at the Yankees at 22 and 18. They're in last place in that division. They'd be in first place in most divisions, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, they would. In the AL Central, they would be the first place team.
AL Central, a bunch of losing streaks going on. Twins barely holding on. I mean, they have a 3-game lead, but they had a much bigger lead earlier in the season.
The AL West, you got the Rangers, Angels, and Houston all within 3 games of each other. Anything could still happen there in that.
Anything but the A's making a run.
Yeah, the A's are the absolute worst team in baseball. They're not even at 10 wins yet.
So they were beating the Rangers last night. They were about to jump in percentage points under 20%, or 200%, how you think about it, in terms of baseball numbers. But they get the win, so their winning percentage goes up. If you want to say that, other than these fantastic uniforms,
you got in the NL East, Philadelphia's bounced back. They're coming back up. I know they were down last week when we talked about this. Still behind the Braves. I think it's going to be hard for them to surpass the Braves this season. Again, I know it's really early in the season, but we're at a point now that you start to see the trends of where these teams are going to go and which divisions are going to be very competitive. Again, in the NL Central, you spoke about it. The Pirates dropped down to second, but
they've lost 11 out of their last 12
you've still got
games.
Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and the Cubs all within 2 games of each other. So you're still,
the Cardinals are 7.5 games back. I mean,
quite honestly, Cincinnati is only 4 games back. So still so much can change. That might be a division that's still got a few teams there that are really going to make it interesting.
If nobody's going to run away with the division, 7.5 games is nothing.
No,
we're just a little over a month into the season, or about a month and a half. 70 games is a lot in that span.
Yeah.
But the Pirates had a big lead in that division. They were the best team in baseball at one point.
Yeah.
And like I said, just tail spinning. I mentioned earlier, 11 out of the last 12 they've lost. It's amazing that they're still above 500 right now and still right there within shouting distance of first place. And the NL West, Dodgers have been a bit disappointing this year. They have obviously taken a step back, but they're still in first place in that division. The Diamondbacks were a little bit of a surprise up there. Bigger surprise is San Diego right now, a game under 500.
Yeah.
Giants, we knew they weren't going to be all that great, and then the Rockies.
Yeah. Rockies kind of are what they are. That's where they've been for a while.
But until the Dodgers do something and take this division, I think the Padres have the talent. 5 games is nothing. That's a quick run. Honestly, when you look, go back to which division was it? We're talking about the Phillies in the NL East. They were in last place not too long ago. Had a horrible start to the season just after losing the World Series last year. And they're bad. They're still 6 games back, but they're back to 500. They've won 4. I think they've won quite like 15 out of the last 18 or something like that.
Well, and if you guys want to know where to check all these stats out, an easy place to find it, check out our website at peak1sportsnetwork.com.
Yeah.
And we've actually have all major sports standings there, kept up to date daily. You see a lot of the other, trends. They're losing streaks, winning streaks. So check us out there.
Articles, a lot of great articles written by Tony, myself, Adam Russell, a lot of talented people here at Peak One Sports Network. And then you can go and see every episode of every show we have on here right now. We're a growing network and have a lot of talented shows right now. Right there on the homepage, you can see the most recent Peak One Fight Night hosted by Cole Rambo, and the Bungalow Sports Show. Dynasty DNA. There's just a lot of cool stuff going on. So go to our website, peakonesportsnetwork.com. Guys, I hope y'all have a great weekend, a great Mother's Day. Enjoy your sports weekend. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe.
See you guys later.